Let's first go to the Fox News Bernie town hall. Play a couple of clips from there. This is it's clip number 3, where we had mentioned earlier that Bret Baier had to sort of maintain some semblance of being the straight news guy. And so I am not going to feel quite as humiliated when I take a survey of the audience and find that everything I've been promoting on Fox News for over a decade is not popular with the people who are here for some reason. Now, this was done. This town hall was in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. I mean, if you had told me that this was done at the auditorium at the University of Vermont, and that I would have been like, oh, that makes sense. But this audience, I don't know if Fox News doesn't have a lot of attention, but this audience seemed to be incredibly amenable to Bernie Sanders and his policies, which theoretically have been maligned on Fox News for ages. And here, Martha McCallum, and I think this is getting towards the end of the thing where there's, I think these two hosts are got to feel like we have in some way failed, because we're not getting that moment or the series of moments where we have exposed Bernie Sanders for either having policies that don't make sense or having policies that are not popular with this broad section of people. And so I think there's a lot of frustration involved in this. And you can see Martha McCallum and just play this exchange.
About Vermont, because Vermont tried to have a single-payer program, and in 2014, the Democratic governor abandoned it because he had to raise income taxes, had to raise payroll taxes, and the people of Vermont didn't want their taxes to go up.
No, it's not quite true.
And they abandoned the program. So if you work in Vermont,
you're getting into internal Vermont politics, of which I know a little bit.
Well, I'm sure you do.
I don't want to be. All right, the governor did a rather poor job, but I think if you look at polling, especially among Democrats, as I'm sure you have, you tell me. Strong majority of Democrats and more than a few Republicans want to see a Medicare for all program. What the opponents, and let's be clear about this, Martha. When you are dealing with health care, which is, 18% of our GDP? I mean, we're talking about $3.5 trillion a year. And you have insurance companies that make billions and billions of dollars in profit. Let me give you an example, if I might, of the dysfunctionality of the current healthcare system. Recently, Aetna merged with CVS. You may recall that. Big merger, which in my view will drive healthcare costs up. The gentleman who was head of Aetna's named Mr. Bertolini. Do you know what he got for putting together that merger? He got a $500 million bonus. Do you think that's how we should spend healthcare dollars?
I mean, I think everybody is in agreement that healthcare needs to be fixed in this country. The question is how. And my question to you was, it will drive up taxes to pay for healthcare. And not just the wealthy will pay for that. The middle class will also pay for it.
Very good.
So how do you justify it? And
all right, Martha, what are you not including in your discussion?
You tell me.
I will tell you. You're not going to pay any health insurance premiums. But look, Martha,
one way or the other.
Martha,
whether it's in your income tax or your payroll tax, you're going to pay.
Look, healthcare is not free. You never heard me suggest that we're going to magically.
You just said it was going to be free for everyone.
It's going to be free at the point of when you use it, okay? And you go to. Why are you so shocked by this?
Because someone's going to pay.
Somebody is going to pay.
Who are they? Who pays?
Okay. One second.
Okay,
relax.
I'm just asking.
We'll be talking.
Please.
We'll get through this together.
It's a common question.
Okay.
We had so many email questions.
Okay.
Ask Senator Sanders how he is
fair
going
enough.
to pay.
I got it.
It's a fair
But the first thing, let's just say hypothetically.
Okay.
You are self-employed, and you've got a husband and 2 kids, okay? Family of 4. Do you know how much that family is paying today for health care?
How many?
$28,000 a year.
Okay.
All right, we're spending $11,000 per person. We are saying to that family of 4, you ain't going to pay that $28,000. You're not paying any more premiums. You're not paying any more co-payments. You're not paying any more deductibles. How's that? $28,000 you're not paying. But does that mean you're not going to pay something? Of course it does. You're going to pay more in taxes.
And do members of Congress who now have gold-plated health
Pause it for 1
insurance-
second. Now, this is really sort of fascinating, right? Because like that you can almost see Martha like looking like a little bit flush there, right? Like she doesn't have anything else to say. He's just conceded what she thinks is the sort of like the stake through the heart of this program, where he says, yeah, no, of course, you're going to pay more in taxes. You're going to pay less for premiums. That is the easy calculation here. And there has been, and the thing is that there has been no one who has been able to produce a report. There's been no research. There's been no estimates. Even the Mercatus study from the right-wing think tank, there has been nothing released by anyone who can refute that central dynamic. And the thing that Bernie is doing that is different from when they talked about where in Vermont it failed was a Governor Schulman, I think it was his name. The thing that Bernie is doing, and we used to get calls from John from San Antonio would call in all the time about this very point, is that you must lead with the idea that taxes are going to be raised, because taxes are going to be raised. And Bernie makes the point. It is free at the point of service, and it is free when you pay for it, but it's not free. You're going to have to pay for it. It's going to be in taxes. And middle-class people, as well as wealthy people, are going to pay more in taxes. But the net expenditures are going to be less because you're not going to be paying for premiums and for basically the profits and the inefficiencies in the private insurance market. And then, it doesn't even bring up the fact that and then the other good news is you're not going to have to deal with a tremendous hassle. I have spreadsheets. I have Google Drives that I take pictures of, Saul's eye therapy, and I take the pictures and I upload them, and then I see if my insurance is going to pay for them, and I got decent insurance. All right, good.
But does that mean you're not going to pay something? Of course it does. You're going to pay more in taxes.
And do members of Congress who now have gold-plated health insurance?
No, we don't.
Well, they have a special plan that's outside Obamacare. A different plan. Do members of Congress...
Pause it for 1 second. You know who has a plan that's outside of Obamacare?
Most people.
Almost everybody. The only people, it's 10 million people in this country who have a plan inside of Obamacare. And you have something like 280 million people covered by insurance in this country.
By the way, unless you want to define Obamacare as Patient Protection Act, in which case everybody's covered by it and everybody loves it.
Well,
you can't
Congress
discriminate
has
against me
a different health care
Right.
thing, just like Brett Baer has.
No,
a
I
different
understand
one.
that. I'm just saying if he's using it, and of course we know that in terms of actual plans, but the patient protection component of it is national and protects a lot of people.
Yeah, he's talking about the exchanges
conditions.
here. I
Yeah,
think.
I think that's what he's trying to talk about.
Obamacare has more than that, just the exchanges.
Right. Well, it's Medicaid too. But the real question is why is Brett Baer bringing this up now? Because Bernie has now destroyed McCallum's one critique. And so he's pivoting to, we can't really trust Congress people because you guys you're out of this whole system. You're going to try and be out of this whole system. That's where he's going with this. Go back a little bit and you'll see they have now gone from the Alamo to the next redoubt, right? Where it's okay, we're going to go to the farthest reaches of the Alamo because we need to figure out some way of undercutting this. And it's the classic, well, we can't trust government. And because politicians all lie.
It does. You're going to pay more in taxes.
And do members of Congress who now have gold-plated health insurance?
No, we don't.
Well, they have a special plan that's outside Obamacare. A different plan. Do members of Congress, are they going to do that transition as well?
Damn right. Of course. Of course.
Whoops.
But I want to make the point.
Bummer.
I want to get back to
Pause
the
it.
point.
Now, this is where Brett Baer, if he's really on his game, or McCallum, if she was really on her game, she's going to go, well, because this is the last refuge is, how many pages is it? Because that was the way that it went with Obamacare. right? There was a problem with the program. And then it was like, well, but congressmen aren't going to put themselves in it. And then it was over 100 pages. Like literally, this was a talking point at the time. In that Glenn Beck rally I went to, one of the common complaints about Obamacare was nobody knows what's in it. And they passed it. It's over 100 pages. There shouldn't be anything. Everybody's just saying 4 pages. That should be the top.
This will probably be a shorter bill.
Yeah,
It is
exactly.
a shorter
Yeah,
bill.
come at me, bro.
Of course. Why would you suggest otherwise? But I want to make the point. I want to get back to the point that Martha raised. Look, healthcare costs money. Every other country, or virtually every country, does it in the same way we do education for our kids. Okay, when a kid walks into school, kid doesn't have to take out a credit card, right? It's paid for out of public funds. That's what most countries do. So if you're asking me, if your question is a fair question, are people going to pay more in taxes? Yes. But at the end of the day, the overwhelming majority of people are going to end up paying less for health care because they're not paying premiums, co-payments, and deductibles.
We're going to get it.
Yeah, there we go.
Done.
Well, we got to take a break.
Look at that. Look at the face. Look at that. Look at that. I think I handled that pretty well.
Yeah, there you go.
Smooth Bernard
Come
strikes
at me.
again.
You know, that's the great. What I love about Bernie is like some people contrasted spin with complexity, right? Like, oh, well, if you're speaking in spin and sound bites, then you're not acknowledging how complicated these issues are. He's great because it's like, it actually is super simple and he has great message discipline, but it's also clear and honest and direct.
But the key is what John from San Antonio would call in years ago to complain about.
So I said
was
clear
that
and
he's
honest.
leading with the taxes. Yes. And there was an attempt by, I think, Democrats for a long time. And part of it was, back in the day, like Walter Mondale and whatnot, was if you say you're going to raise taxes, the American public is necessarily going to have a problem with it. As if there is no argument, as if the American public cannot understand the concept that right now you're paying $10 for something. And we're going to eliminate that $10 expense, but it will cost you $6.
And didn't also Mondale, didn't he like sort of basically say like we're going to just taxes as austerity to pay off the deficit or something? If I've heard that correctly, it was not presented as.
It was something like we need to pay for things.
Yeah, it wasn't like presented as part of an ambitious agenda to take care of things for people.
There was no agenda as far as I can tell.
And for what it's worth, you think of Obama, they soft-pedaled Obamacare costing something. And I'd be much more pissed about having my premiums jacked up than having my taxes jacked.
Oh, yeah. Or, getting a kind of not that good silver plan and finding out it still costs $100 if I need to go to the doctor for a sick visit, which is the thing that happened to me.
Yes. And so this was by leading with that taxes. It also makes his job, frankly, easier because other people have to try and hide the ball. And he's not trying to hide the ball. He's trying to say, like, look at the ball.